A very good morning, children. Hope you are all doing fine. So in the last class we have studied about the internal structure of heart, right? If you have not followed that or if you have not seen that, please look or please watch the video before you watch this video, because that is very important and you will learn a lot of things from that, because maximum terminology which we are going to use in this video is from the previous video. So I request you to go back to the video, okay, and watch it perfectly and write all the terms, okay, and then read them properly and then come to this video so that you can understand this video, right? So now this video, right, this particular lesson, okay, so is called as the cardiac cycle. So before learning the cardiac cycle, let's see once what are the three blood vessels are there, right? One is the arteries. Arteries always carries the red blood, oxygenated blood. Oxygenated blood in the sense here, it has oxygen in it, right? Apart from that, the other definition is they are the ones which carry the blood away from the heart. Except the pulmonary artery, all the arteries will carry the pure blood, that is oxygenated blood. When you come to the veins, except pulmonary vein, all the veins carry the impure blood. Only pulmonary artery will carry the pure blood. Okay? And coming to the capillaries. Now these capillaries are the very small one-celled tube-like structures. Okay, one-celled tube-like structures which are basically present, okay, at the end of the arteries and the veins. For example, let me tell you, okay, I think this is fine here. Okay, I'll use this space to tell you. So now just assume that these are the 4 or 5 cells. Okay, some cells are there here. Now the arteries are bringing the pure blood here. Okay, arteries are bringing the pure blood here. Now these are the veins which has to carry the impure blood. Now these are not connected to the tissues or the cells. They throw the blood in the tissue level. So now here there are some capillary network, that is very small network of tube-like structures which will connect the arteries and the veins. So whatever the blood comes from here will go back to the veins. Okay, so these connections of the blood vessels, which are very tiny, are called as the capillaries. Now this particular line, like you'll get it in the excretion when you talk about the that is a nephron. That is when you talk about the nephron, you will be reading this one, so that at that particular time it will be very useful to you. So what are blood capillaries, right? They are the very small tube-like structures, one-cell structures, which basically connects the arteries and the veins. Okay, they are at the ends, they are at the tissue level, at the cell level. So this is about the capillaries. Okay, so and one more thing here, I just forgot to tell you that when you take the arteries and all, like arteries also will have the valves in them. That is, when the blood is pumped through the arteries, when the blood comes out like this, now there are chances that the blood can go back. Okay, the blood can go back. No, that will not happen, because these valves will automatically close once the blood moves forward. So they keep on closing like this. They keep on closing so that the blood will not move backward. So that means arteries are having what? Valves in them, which control the flowing back of the blood. So the blood cannot flow backward because of the valves in the arteries. So that is one of the major point about the arteries. And now when you come to the veins and all, veins will always carry the deoxygenated blood, except pulmonary vein. Pulmonary vein always carries the pure blood. Okay, and whereas coming to the arteries, they always carry the pure blood except pulmonary artery, because pulmonary artery will carry the impure blood. So these are the simple things you have to keep in your mind. Now what we will do is we'll come to the cardiac cycle. Cardiac cycle. So in the previous chapter, previous session, I was telling you that there will be contraction, there will be relaxation. So now we will understand what are contractions and what are relaxations. Okay, before coming to the contractions and relaxations, how the cardiac cycle is and what is cardiac cycle and all, we have to understand that our heart is made up of a muscle which is called as the cardiac muscle, which is called as the cardiac muscle. What is the name of the muscle? Cardiac muscle. Okay, children. So that is what you have to keep in your mind, right? Right. Because it is a muscle. Because it is a muscle, what it can do is it can contract and it can relax. Okay, muscles are the ones which can easily contract and can relax. See, when your hand, you put hand like this, the muscles will contract. When you leave your hand, they will relax. In the same way, our heart also contracts at the same time relaxes, right? Now we'll see what is contraction, what is relaxation and all. Okay, now there are so many terms again in this particular topic, so you have to remember again at least 10 terms from this particular session. So children, basically the human heart, it starts its beating exactly at 21st day. Okay, the embryo will start heartbeat at exactly 21st day in the mother's womb, right? So 21st day onwards the heartbeat will stop, so it's called as a fetus heartbeat. So now our heartbeat is such an important thing that if the heartbeat stops, but it's very much evident that the person will die. If the heartbeat stops, the person will die. So there is no second thought in that. Is there any second thought? No. That means our heart should beat continuously, right? Now what is heartbeat? How does the heart beats, right? Now the first thing, right? Now already we have seen that in the in the last session, that our heart has 4 chambers, isn't it? The upper 2 chambers are called as the auricles and lower 2 chambers are called as the ventricles. So the upper 2 chambers are called as the right auricle and left auricle. The below ones are called as the right ventricle and left ventricle. So there are auricles and there are also ventricles, right? Now what happens here is, okay, so we have already seen that there are auricles and ventricles, right? Now what happens during the heartbeat? During the heartbeat, both auricles, now if it has blood in them, if this has blood and this has blood in them, if this blood has to go into the ventricles, what should happen? These should contract, isn't it? They should contract like this, so that if they contract like this, the blood will go into the ventricles. Okay, so this also should contract, isn't it? So if only they contract, the blood will come into the ventricles. If they remain same, then the blood will not come into the ventricles. So if this is the auricle, they should contract and press so that the blood which is inside this cavity should go into the next cavity, that is the ventricle. So that particular contraction, so contraction, right? That is a contraction. So when again, now it is in a contracted state. Again, now the blood from the lungs and blood from the all parts of the body should come and fill in this. So if it is completely contracted like this, can the blood go inside the cavity? No. Again, it should relax and come back to its original position. Only then the blood will go inside. So that is contraction and the relaxation. So contraction and relaxation, so both are 2 different terms here, right? So contraction phase is there in the heartbeat and relaxation phase is there in the heartbeat. So the contraction phase, where the blood with the heart or auricles or ventricles, auricles will contract, ventricles will contract. Why auricles will contract? Auricles will contract because they have to send the blood into ventricles. Okay, again now the ventricles also will contract. Why they will contract? Because they have to send the blood into blood vessels. Because they have to send the blood into blood vessels, even they have to contract. So contraction is a common feature in the auricles and ventricles. Now all 4 has to relax. Auricles has to relax and ventricles has to relax, because if ventricles don't relax, the arteries cannot send, the auricles cannot send the blood into ventricles. The atrium cannot send the blood into ventricles. That's the reason why they should go on contracting and relaxation, right? So contraction and relaxation. So this makes one heartbeat. One contraction and one relaxation makes one heartbeat. Now we will study what is cardiac cycle. We will study what is cardiac cycle. So here I am writing here one contraction and one relaxation. One contraction and one relaxation, okay, of auricle and ventricles is called as cardiac cycle. So if the auricles and the ventricles contract, if auricles contract and after then ventricles contract, so this is one heartbeat. This is one heartbeat. So that one particular heartbeat, right, one contraction and one relaxation of the auricles and ventricles is basically called as the cardiac cycle. What is called as cardiac cycle? So let's learn two terms now. Let's learn two terms. Now one is contraction, second one is relaxation. The word which is used for contraction is systole. It is called as systole. S-Y-S-T-O-L-E, systole. And then the term which is used for relaxation is diastole. So it is systole and this is diastole. So what is contraction? Nothing but the systole. What is relaxation? Nothing but the diastole. So one systole, and now you can say like this: one systole and one diastole is equal to one heartbeat, right? One cardiac cycle. That is, one systole and one diastole of the auricles and ventricles is called as the heartbeat, or you can also call it as the cardiac cycle. Okay, now we will come to the very important part of the lesson, that is the what is cardiac cycle and what are the stages in the cardiac cycle. Okay, now we will learn about the 5 stages in the cardiac cycle. It's very easy if you concentrate. It's very tough if you don't concentrate. So very simple. Concentrate, it will be damn easy for you. Okay, children. So now we'll go ahead with the cardiac cycle. Now, are you well versed with these terms and all? Diastole, systole, okay, pulmonary artery, pulmonary vein, systemic aorta, okay, inferior vena cava, superior vena cava. So these are the major terms which you are going to use in the cardiac cycle. Now, children, it's in your mind that there is systole and there is diastole. There is systole and also there is diastole, right? So now we'll see what is systole and what is diastole. Okay, now just assume. Now we'll only going to imagine, because we will imagine that auricles and ventricles are completely in a relaxed state. That is the first stage. What's the first stage here? The auricles and the ventricles both are completely in a relaxed stage. That means all the 4 chambers are absolutely empty. There is nothing in that. Okay, they are all relaxed. They are all relaxed, right? This will never happen because our heart will keep on pumping the blood. So there is no stage where you can even imagine that our heart is completely empty without any blood. So that stage will never come. Until and unless you die, that stage will never come. But whereas now here what we are doing is, we are just imagining that the atria or auricles and the ventricles both are in a relaxed state. Both are in a relaxed state. Okay, that is the first thing we have to understand. So that is the first stage. First stage is relax. Okay, first stage is relax, right? Relax of atria and ventricles. Okay, that's the first stage. As these both auricles, atria and the ventricles are in a relaxed state, what you can call this stage as? What you can call this stage as? You can call it as diastole. What you can call it as? Diastole. Okay. Now what we'll do is, we'll go to the second stage. Okay, children, in the first stage, all 4 are in relaxed state. All 4 are in relaxed state. That is, right auricle, right ventricle, left ventricle. All 4 are in relaxed state. Now coming to the second stage. Now auricles has to fill, right? Because only auricles can send the blood to ventricles, and ventricles can send the blood to different parts of the body. So now auricles has to receive the blood. So where the auricles will receive the blood? So there are two auricles here, right? There are two auricles here, and now we'll come to the right auricle. Right auricle will receive the blood from. Now, what is the blood which is being received by the right auricle? Okay, right auricle is receiving the deoxygenated blood. It is receiving the deoxygenated blood. From where it is receiving? It is receiving the blood from the superior vena cava. Okay, from the superior vena cava, and also from the inferior vena cava. It is receiving the blood from superior vena cava and the inferior vena cava. Whereas superior vena cava, you already know, head and neck. Inferior vena cava, rest of the parts. That means now this particular part is getting filled with which blood? Deoxygenated blood. Okay, and now till now there is no contraction. Okay, and now coming to the pulmonary veins. Right? Now what these veins are doing here? What they are bringing from the right lung? Pulmonary veins from the right lung and also from the left lung. These veins are carrying the blood to the heart. So what they are bringing here? So from here they will bring the blood to the left auricle. So which is that one? Oxygenated blood. So right auricle is receiving the deoxygenated blood. Left auricle is receiving the oxygenated blood. Right auricle is receiving the deoxy blood from superior vena cava and the inferior vena cava, and left auricle is receiving the blood from pulmonary artery, that is left pulmonary artery. Okay, left pulmonary artery and the left pulmonary veins and the right pulmonary veins. Because these veins are here, they are carrying what blood? Oxygenated blood. That is the only exception in the arteries and veins. So pulmonary artery will bring the deoxygenated blood. Pulmonary veins will carry the oxygenated blood. That is the only exception in the arteries and the veins. Okay children, is it fine here till now? Okay. Now coming to the next part. Now what is in the auricles here? Oxygenated blood. What is in the ventricles? What is in the right auricle? Deoxygenated blood. What is in the left auricle? There is oxygenated blood. Now this blood has to come into the ventricles. That means these both auricles which are like this, okay, they should contract now. So what is that contraction called as? Systole. Already we have learned that is the systole. Now who is contracting here? Auricles are contracting. So can we write like this? I'm writing here. Auricular systole. Okay, I wrote here auricular systole because both auricles are contracting. So when auricles contract, we call it as the auricular systole. Auricles contract, we call it as auricular systole. Okay children, now when the auricles contract, then this is the right auricle and this is the left auricle. So now the blood from the right auricle should come into the right ventricle. So this is the right. Okay, now this is the right ventricle. This is the left ventricle. Now this deoxy blood should come into here. Now is that easy? No, because there is a valve here, right? There is a valve here. What is the valve called as? Tricuspid valve. It is guarding this place because once the blood if it has to come here, this valve has to open and has to send the blood into the right ventricle. And here also you can see that there is bicuspid valve. Okay, which is here, and only when it opens, the blood from the left auricle will come into the left ventricle. So when this contracts, basically what happens is this right, that is tricuspid valve and the bicuspid valve will open, and what they will do is they will allow the blood to pass into the ventricle. So now this deoxygenated blood, it will travel all the way from the tricuspid valve and comes into the left ventricle like this. Okay, and the blood which is in the left auricle, it will come through the bicuspid valve, or else you can also call it as the mitral valve. Left ventricle will receive the which blood? Oxygenated blood. That means now here this is the deoxygenated blood. In the left ventricle there is oxygenated blood, and in the right ventricle there is deoxygenated blood. So now what happens here is, when these two release the blood into the ventricles, now within no time these two has to close. They two has to close. So they will close, but they will give a sound. When they close, they will give a sound, and that sound is lub. Like those from childhood onwards, you are using the word lub dub, right? Isn't it? Lub and dub. So this sound is caused by the closing of the bicuspid valve and the tricuspid valve with a good pressure. So this is called as the lub sound. The sound which you get here is called as the lub sound. So this happens when the blood is flown into the ventricles, and immediately these two valves will close. Why they are closing? What is the reason behind them, right? What is the reason behind that? The reason behind that is it is stopping the blood to flow back into the auricles. If the valves are open, when the ventricles contract, the blood can go into the auricles, isn't it? So to stop that, what's happening here is the tricuspid valve and the bicuspid valve will immediately close by making some sound called as lub sound. Okay, children, is it clear now? Now these auricles, okay, they have undergone auricular systole and send the blood into ventricles. Now what happens is the auricular systole will start, right? They will start relaxing. That is, systole will start. Auricular systole will start. Auricular diastole will start. Okay, they will start relaxing, right? That is a thing which starts here. Now these ventricles has a blood in them, right? These ventricles has blood in them. Now what they will do is they will immediately pump the blood. So now what they will do is they will immediately send the blood to the different parts of the body and also to the lungs. So when these ventricles contract, you can see that the blood is traveling like this, immediately goes here, okay, and also comes out through the systemic aorta. It goes to the head region, it goes to the arms, and also each and every part will receive the oxygenated blood. At the same time, the ventricles, when the right ventricle, what happens to this one? This has to send the blood to the lungs. So from where it will send the blood to the lungs? They have to send it to the pulmonary aorta. So the blood will travel like this. Okay, now this is the deoxygenated blood which should go to lungs for the purification. So now this will keep on traveling through the pulmonary artery and now this side goes to the left lung and this goes to the right lung. Okay, so pulmonary artery is now going into the lungs so that the blood can be purified. So it will travel like this. So that is how the ventricles will contract. So the ventricles contract, that stage is called as the ventricular systole. It's called as the ventricular systole. Now the basic point, let me tell you this one. So when the blood comes into the systemic aorta and the pulmonary artery, they will move through the blood vessels, right? And when they move through the blood vessels, I already told that there are valves in that, isn't it? So the blood will move with a great force and the valves will open and immediately they will close, because they have to stop the blood from coming into the ventricles. So that sound is a bit dull sound. It's not that great as the sound which has come in the tricuspid valve and the bicuspid valve. So it will take some time. So that particular sound will be a bit dull sound. So that particular sound is called as the dub sound. It is called as the dub sound. So dub sound is taking place in the systemic aorta and the pulmonary arteries, right? So the valves which are in the arteries, they are closing so that they can stop the overflow or the flow of blood backward to the ventricles. Once it flows, it cannot come back. If now there are, see, if the blood is going like this, there are chances that it can come back, isn't it? But it's not happening because there are valves here. So once the blood goes here, the valves will definitely close. The valves will keep on closing so that it will prevent the backflow of the blood. It will not allow the blood to flow back. So that is how this will be called as the ventricular systole, and that is the reason why when these valves close, they give out a dull sound which is dub sound. So that's why we hear the sound that is lub dub. So now this is the cardiac cycle. So now what happens is the auricles and the ventricles will relax. Okay, that will be called as auriculoventricular diastole. Auriculoventricular diastole. So when the blood comes here, auricles will relax, right? And when the blood from here goes to the blood vessels, ventricles will relax. So that is the ventricular diastole. So on the whole, all these four will relax. Then it's called as the auriculoventricular diastole. So this is about the cardiac cycle. So hope you will keep this in your mind till we meet again. Okay, so that the next part is also linked again to this particular part. So I want you to listen to this, and if you have any doubts, please post me so that I can clarify your doubts. Okay, auricular systole, ventricular systole, if these are relaxing, we call it as auricular diastole. If these relax, we call it as ventricular diastole. Okay, just remember till then. We will continue this in the next session. Until then, see you all. Have a great day. Take care. Bye.